I used to use MapPoint from Microsoft, and it's not a bad product at all and something to utilize, but I've moved to another product that I think is a bit better and a little easier to use. Now, MapPoint, the one good thing I'll say is that it tends to stay on your computer and the data stays on your computer. So that's a little bit better than what I'm about to show you, where we go out to the web. But with that said, I think a lot of the data that we're sharing here probably is not that problematic, in that it usually is just address information without names and that kind of thing. It's kind of public in some way. So the geo-mapping, though, is something that is useful. You can do things like, as we'll talk in a second, this is showing it by value, and you might want to take a look at by value where things are. You could do it by score, which is what we're going to do in a second. But what's interesting is to look at pockets or areas where, in this case, there are not that many, but let's say the blue is from a million to 10 million. You can see a few of the blue areas showing up, and those are, some of which are in areas where they have like low scores or low values. And you kind of want to look for those areas where you have this just huge value showing up somewhere, but yet there's not a lot of other values showing up elsewhere around that particular item. So what I'm going to end up showing is geo-mapping using batch geo, and what we're going to do is put out there the address, the city, the state, the postcode, and it allows you to kind of select how you want to score the data. And you can basically say group by the thematic or thematic value, and you can select total score. So this data I can't so much send you, so I'm just showing it to you today because it does have addresses and that kind of thing. But again, the fact that you're just putting the supplier number, addresses, and maybe a score, it's probably not too private in that way and concerning. And batch geo, which we'll show you in a second, I just think is a great product. We're going to create some graphs that look like this, and it does it pretty easily and quickly. So bear with me 1 minute, and we'll bring that up. So what I ended up downloading from their website, and let me just open this file up for you, and I can provide this to you because it came right from them. They actually provide a list of addresses, and I guess they're the Apple stores that are out there. And sadly, Steve Jobs who's listed here, so I guess they haven't updated that yet. But the URL is also there for each one, and there are a variety of things that we could do with this data. I was going to show you something a little more useful, but again, this is actually the template they give you, and they say, hey, if you fill out this template, you don't even have to fill out all of this. You don't have to put the name in there, for example. You don't have to put phone number. You don't have to put group or URL or email. Even if you just have address, city, state, zip code, and total score right here, that would be just enough to kind of get this thing to run. And let me just go over to batch geo here. So I just opened up a link of data that I uploaded, and it had addresses and total scores. And what's interesting, you can look at this map. There's nothing wrong with it, but there is some data points that are showing up in other countries, and you might not realize sometimes that you have business partners that are in other countries, and that might throw you a bit, and you say, we didn't realize that. So that's something to look into as a first point. I mean, obviously, a lot of the data is showing up in the U.S. Here, but we do have a few showing up in other areas. So let me scroll in, and what's interesting, what this is showing us is the total score, and it is basically colorized down by the section or the dots below. So the blue, which of say that 673 in the middle here, let's kind of highlight. Oh, sorry. So it's going to scroll in and take a little bit. Hold on 1 second. So that those graphs will change as you get closer and closer in. You can see that the blue of let's say, let me pick something. Let's say out here in Washington on the left, we have 82 vendors in this case, and of those 82 vendors, there are blue ones that are with a score of 0.98 to 0.08 to 0.98. Now the red, and there's not a whole lot. There's a couple here showing up in the Minnesota-Wisconsin area. So I'm going to scroll more into that area, and as I do so, you can actually start to see more of the red dots showing up, because that's where that is showing up more in the graph. And as you scroll in more, you start to find, oh, okay, that it's really part of it is in Illinois. Just kind of click on that one. It gives you a little bit of information and a total score here. There's other ones here where you can click on that one section. You could click on that one chart, and then it gives you that whole mapping of that area for that one chart. Now, what I like about this graphing is, it's very interactive. You can scroll in, scroll out. I think you even can get to satellite pictures. So it's something where if you did find a particular, let's say red vendor, you can click on that vendor, but then get a satellite view and actually say, oh, that's interesting. We're paying $18 million, and it appears to be being paid to an apartment building. Not that that's wrong, but it's just odd. That's where the payments would be, would terminate basically. So another way of looking at this too is to go down to the total score line item down below here where you have all these map pointers, the legend. You can select any one of the legend points. In this case, I selected red because they're the biggest ones. And it actually highlights not only red ones, but also which ones are bigger than others. And the bigger ones are obviously, like this one here, should be the 74.1 score, which is the highest score on the legend. So that's something where you can easily kind of highlight certain scores and then just click into them to gain more information about them. And I think just given the limits of internet streaming today, I'm not going to go as far as getting into satellite and terrain, but I think everyone gets the picture. And Batch Geo, let me just kind of zoom out of this for a second. And I might even just, bear with me, I'm just going to redo this whole thing. Just go to batchgeo.com just to show you how to do this. All you do is paste your information into this screen right here. And you can click and paste it right from that spreadsheet they give you. You don't need to have all these fields. As long as you have a few, it's pretty smart. It figures out city and state and all that stuff. And then the total score, it doesn't know what to do with that stuff, so it ends up putting it into that section. Let me just highlight. Let me just turn this into score, and we'll put 100, 75, 50. Just do a bit of a bell curve here like probably everyone expects, 15, 15, and 10. So if I just take this address information with the score, copy and paste that, and go right into my Batch Geo, I can highlight this and do a Control-V, and that brings that in there, and I can say Map Now. And it will map this information. It takes if you map 10,000, which I think I did a few thousand in that mapping we were talking about, it'll take a few minutes. I mean, it's something where you need to give it some time. Now they have a professional version that's more secure, and also something where I'm sure it works a lot faster than the free version that I'm working with, but it all works, so it's something to look at. And the markers themselves show up, the scores themselves show up. In this case, there's not that many, so we're not really getting all of the, let me just look down. Oh, if I save and continue, I can save it and say, test map. And I don't know if I have to do all of this, but I'll just put my email in here. Just wanted to show you the final, what it usually does is it was pretty smart, but it then sent that to me. I think, though, as I scroll out of this a bit and just kind of go down, it does show not only the graphing, but what's really nice is you can actually download this map to a KML document. And if anyone has Google Earth, and I have it in here somewhere, so I again won't open it up because it's going to create a whole internet download that we don't want right now. But that Google Earth will actually then bring up, you can then upload this KML document into Google Earth, and Google Earth I find even has even better mapping features and abilities to look at particular items much quicker and succinctly, but also to get much more detailed information what's surrounding it. You can get pictures, from a 360 angle point of view. So the mapping part of it I find very interesting, only because it gives you a lot more data about people that an address record does not give these days. You can get a lot more information by taking a look at some of these mapping type software.